Does the length of your reel's handle affect the gear ratio? The short answer is no. However, the handle of your reel will actually affect the reel's sensitivity. But before we get into that, I wanted to say a huge thank you to Daiwa USA for sending me some dope stuff. They sent me X-Braid, their fishing line, but more exciting is, if you don't know, Daiwa owns SLP, which is their kind of custom tuning parts company, right? But the really exciting thing here is that they sent me two of the same handles, one in an 85 millimeter and then one in 100 millimeters, so that I can help illustrate this point. So let's take apart my reels. And if we compare this to a bicycle, it's very similar. This big main gear here is the one that's attached to our pedal. And instead of pedals, we have a handle. And then this gear, we don't have a chain. This gear and the small gear that turns the wheel itself is actually just touching each other instead of by a chain. Now here we have two of the same reels. This is an 8.5 gear ratio and this is a 6.3 gear ratio. This gear is slightly larger, but also has a lot more teeth than the 6.3 gear ratio. Now, what does that mean for our fishing? Now, if we take these reels back to that bike analogy, right? If we're trying to bike uphill, we put our bike into a lower gear. If we tried going up that hill with a high gear in our bike, we may be going faster, but it's a lot harder to bike uphill. And that's exactly why when we talk about deep cranking, right? Throwing a deep diving crankbait, kind of that a resistance of that deep diving crankbait is like biking uphill on a fishing reel. We don't really want to use a shorter handle. We kind of want to use that longer handle to get the most amount of leverage, but it's actually not always the best case to have a super long handle. The reason why is sensitivity. But think about this, when we're fishing a shallow diving crankbait, we want to feel our crankbait hitting rocks and twigs, right? Now, if we have this reel that's a low gear ratio with a large handle, when we're turning that shallow diving crankbait, because these pedals are so big, we're not going to feel every bump. We're not going to give our crankbait time to kind of react and bump off. We're just going to be burning through all of it. But now if we put this shorter handle on this reel, if we go over a little rock, we're going to feel that a lot more in the shorter handle, that sudden stop of our crankbait. We're going to feel that stop a lot more because it's going to take, in that moment, it's going to take a lot more force to turn this handle over that rock. If I want to be burning a shallow diving crankbait with a faster gear ratio, but I want to be able to feel all those little bumps when I hit a log or a tree bench with that shallow diving crankbait, I may opt to go to a shorter reel handle on a faster gear ratio reel. But then on a fast gear ratio as well, I may go to a longer reel handle, especially for my big glide bait fishing, right? When I'm trying to turn these big glide baits really quickly with just my reel turns, I want something that's going to make it a lot easier for me fishing that all day. So having that extra leverage on a longer reel handle can be super helpful. So hopefully that clears up any confusion you had about reel handle length and our gear ratios on our reels. Thank you again to Daiwa. I'm definitely going to put a few videos out of me tricking out my reels with all this cool SLP stuff. What are you waiting for? Get out there.